The election is right around the corner, folks. Let's talk about what's happened just over the past week with disaster after disaster for the Donald Trump campaign. And let's contrast that to the campaign being run by Vice President Kamala Harris and Governor Walz. So yesterday, Donald Trump unable to open up a garbage truck door. He dresses like a garbage man throughout the day and during his speeches after his campaign called Puerto Rico floating garbage and basically said the people in Puerto Rico are garbage. Donald Trump refuses to condemn what happened from his campaign, but says the word garbage is a very, very sexy word, he says. Donald Trump's other top surrogate, MAGA Mike Johnson, says that he and Donald Trump have plans immediately on day one to terminate the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, taking people off their health care, allowing insurance companies to once again discriminate on the basis of pre-existing conditions, literally potentially causing tens of millions of Americans to die. What else is part of that closing message from the Trump campaign? Well, Elon Musk, Donald Trump's other top surrogate, is out there saying that under Donald Trump's plans, most Americans, other than the billionaires, are going to suffer immediate hardship right away. But Elon Musk says, don't worry, that hardship will hit you just for a little bit, but then will be cool after you are meant to suffer. Donald Trump is also out there making comments that whether women like it or not, he's going to do what he wants to do to them. It's an actual quote from Donald Trump, whether women like it or not. Also, Donald Trump went to Albuquerque, New Mexico today, where he's refused to pay the city the bills, about $500,000 that he owes them. So he had to deliver this speech on the tarmac. He couldn't actually leave the tarmac because he's in default essentially to the city. He talked about his weave, which is basically, in my opinion, his dementia-like symptoms. And he said the only reason that he made this stop in Albuquerque is in order to help his credentials with the Latino community, he says, and that's just getting started. Oh, by the way, did I mention Donald Trump today filed a $10 billion lawsuit? He just made up the number against CBS because the thin-skinned wannabe authoritarian got his feelings hurt that Vice President Kamala Harris had the courage to do an interview that he refused to do. What claim or cause of action are you alleged? Do you want to know Donald Trump alleges? There is none. He just makes it up, comes up with a $10 billion number, makes that number up out of thin air to get the headlines to try to look like a tough guy. But you know what he looks to me? Absolutely freaking pathetic. While Vice President Kamala Harris is out there talking about what she plans to do for the American people, as more surrogates are speaking out on her behalf, like LeBron James is out there speaking out, Donald Trump is just showing you that he is a petty, pathetic person who should not be called a man at all because he's never matured past the stage of petulant little freaking bully who's using campaign dollars to file ridiculous, stupid lawsuits while his entire campaign looks just absolutely pathetic. I could go on and on and on. Brett, Jordy, let me bring you in. Brothers, what's going on?
Tell us how you really feel, Ben. Oh my gosh, it's so wild. I cannot believe that we are now just days away from the 2024 election, and the closing messages right now of each of the candidates really tell you everything you need to know. You see Donald Trump doubling down on his hate, doubling down on his racism, doubling down on his stunts, on his desperation, on his legal actions, just all the chaos. And we are seeing a lot of repeats as well from 2020 with Donald Trump preemptively claiming that there is fraud in Pennsylvania. And you see all these MAGA influencers already blaming women for the result of the election, saying that women shouldn't even have the right to vote. How dare they vote in a different way from their husbands if their husbands vote for Trump? We are seeing honestly, just one of the most reprehensible finishing ends of a campaign that we have ever seen ever. And meanwhile, with Vice President Kamala Harris, we are seeing a message of unity. We're seeing a message of hope. We are seeing a message of freedom, of the American spirit. Honestly, she is running such a fantastic campaign, and I have a lot of optimism in her. And if somehow she does not win this election, it is not her fault. We have a serious problem with this country. But I mean, that's what it is. We're days away right now. I'm excited to get into the latest news. Jordy, I loving the costume right now. Did you even know it was Halloween, or did you just dress up like this?
A few things to get off my chest real quick. Well, you guys set me up. I mean, we talked about this. We said that we were all going to dress up for the Halloween episode. We FaceTimed about it, so I don't even have text message receipts. You can only just take my word for it. So I told you guys what I was going to be. Brett, you were dressing up. I'm the only one dressed up right now for the audio listeners. Happy Halloween, everybody. I don't know. I can't believe the brother set me up like this, but I'm super excited. Yeah, I'm an astronaut. My son Elijah, it's his first Halloween. He's an alien. We're going trick-or-treating right after this. We're super excited.
Can I ask you about this? Because if you have a child who is like, under a year old,
right,
and you're taking them trick-or-treating, it's kind of like you're just trick-or-treating.
It's a good point. I'm
going to be holding them. It's kind of just you asking for candy.
Can't even say trick-or-treat. So I guess, yeah, I'm just the 32-year-old dressed up in the costume, knocking on people's doors saying trick-or-treat. Yeah, it's going to be an awkward situation. Didn't think that one through. Benji, where do we want to start off today?
Donald Trump dressing up not because of Halloween, but because of some inside Twitter trying to own the libs with some inside Twitter echo chamber crap. That President Biden said that it was a garbage statement that Donald Trump would call the people of Puerto Rico garbage, and that offended MAGA. So then they wanted to say, let's all dress up like garbage men for the day. And so that's how Donald Trump dressed up. And like most normal Americans have no clue what the hell he's talking about at all. And like, why you dressed up like it seems like he's mocking even more the Puerto Rican community and Latinos who his campaign has called garbage, floating garbage, and other words like that. So Donald Trump dresses like that. He's in a garbage truck. He's apparently never opened the door. By the way, look at the sycophants like behind him. Like you have Boris Epstein, and then you have Byron Donalds. Like they're taking pictures of like legitimately a clown. Like his skin color right there is like absolutely ridiculous. This is a real photo. This isn't Photoshop. This is really what he looks like. And it's like, what the hell are we even looking at there? So then he tries to open up the door of a garbage truck. He can do that. And what we've been saying all along, and I said, look, I take it seriously. When he's on stage and other speeches, and it looks like he's relieving himself, it looks like he's defecating on himself, and he's done that before when he was in office. He relieves himself. You see it happening. I go, look, I'm just calling it out because I'm not going to close my eyes and cover my ears to this reality. So just for example, watch what happened yesterday as he tries to get in the truck. Play it. So then he's asked that for those who are listening on audio, he's dragging his like right leg. He misses trying to grab the door like twice. It looks like he's going to like fall down. I'm not going to show the part of his speech because it's like 3 minutes long where he talks about his adrenaline was rushing as he tried to open up the door, and he acts like literally getting into a car seat was this massive undertaking. Just because
to be fair, it appeared like a massive undertaking for him. He appeared to really struggle with it. So maybe in his mind, it was indeed a massive undertaking. And that leg is something that we've actually been keeping track of now for what, like over 4 years, I think. Like I remember us posting clips of him dragging that right leg at the COVID facilities. He would drag his right leg. And Ron Filipkowski, the editor-in-chief at MeidasTouch, has been tracking this and keeps asking the question, like, what is going on with Donald Trump's right leg? Why does he keep dragging it? What is happening there? Is there a greater health issue there? And it's all the more curious because Donald Trump refuses to release his medical records, and we still have no idea what the heck is going on with him and why he has the issues speaking that he has, why he has the issues walking that he has. Like there's clearly something going on there that they don't want people to know. They don't want people to know whatever kind of medications he's on or what's actually wrong with him or what actually happened at Walter Reed Hospital while he was president. So there's a lot of mystery around this. And when you see incidents like that, it just brings more questions to the forefront of the discussion.
Exactly right, Brett. Look, we don't show these clips, to be crude, to be mean, but really to alert the American people. Hey, this person who wants the nuclear codes again has not provided his medical records. We don't know his health conditions going into this election cycle. So how can we actively and just give him the codes and all of our documents and our nation's secrets if he's unwilling to even share his medical history with the country?
They're out there saying, well, Vice President Kamala Harris's plans for providing tax deductions to small businesses. Can you provide a detail how that will offset potential budget deficit increases? I mean, Donald Trump added $8 trillion in debt. I mean, just think about like 30% of all debt was caused by Donald Trump. But that's how Vice President Kamala Harris gets treated. Front page stories about that. Donald Trump's out there talking about like Arnold Palmer's penis. He's out there saying, hey, did you see I did a weave? I did a weave. He's saying how he'd rather be electrocuted than eaten by sharks. Like, quite literally, if you had someone in your family who was like this, you would probably say that they are really unwell, that they have some sort of serious dementia, Alzheimer's, that this is someone who suffered from many strokes. Like, you see it, you would have concern. So I don't have to be like, something is wrong with this sicko. And frankly, it is wrong not to call out what's happening. So anyway, as part of Donald Trump's closing message, he gets in a garbage truck and then he's asked questions. So he's asked like, hey, your surrogate at a campaign event in Madison Square Garden called Puerto Rico floating trash and made other horrible comments about the Latino community. So what's your response to that? Here's what Donald Trump says.
What do I want? What did you think about the comedian show? I don't know anything about the comedian. I don't know who he is. I've never seen him. I heard he made a statement, but it was just a statement that he made. He's a comedian. What can I tell you? I know nothing about him. I don't know why he's there. You put comedians up, and I guess he went on earlier in the show. I don't know who he is.
I don't know who he is. It's just a statement that he made. Well, at the very least, you now know what the statement is, right? Wouldn't a leader condemn the statement and say, those statements don't reflect what my values are? But no, for Donald Trump, I don't know. I don't know who he is. Remember, same thing he said with Michael Cohen. I don't know what Michael Cohen is, just my lawyer. I don't know what pay. That's what he does. COVID, like a miracle, it's all going to go away.
And by the way, Ben, let's not forget that speaker wasn't the only speaker who said something off base. It was literally every single speaker, including Donald Trump at this event. They said reprehensible things about Puerto Ricans, about all Latinos, about African Americans, about Jews, about Palestinians. Every speaker said something that was more horrific than the next. And then Donald Trump came on stage and called all Americans who oppose him the enemy of the people. So that's the context of the entire event. It was one big hate fest from start to finish. It was deranged, and that's why you had Donald Trump come out and say, oh, it was love. It was love. It was all love. It was a love fest. Everybody loved it. Everyone was so happy and just loving in there. I'm not sure I agree with your definition of love there, but okay.
Donald Trump continues to call the United States garbage and trash as well. That's part of his closing message. America's trash. We're the trash of the world. America's crap. America's trash. He says over and over again, no, America's a great country. America is an amazing place. And it is so sad and disappointing to run a campaign with that as your closing message. Here, by the way, Donald Trump says one of the reasons that he's in a garbage truck is he says because the word garbage is one of the hottest things right now. It's a sexy word, he goes. Here, play this clip.
And one of my people came in and said, sir, the word garbage is the hottest thing right now out there. The hottest thing out there. Sir, would you like to drive a garbage truck?
I mean, honestly, does everybody in that audience have brain worms? What is going? There's not even it's not funny. What is funny about garbage being the hottest word? Like, it's legitimately not funny at all. And the fact that he's dressed like that The whole thing is like quite literally watching a psychotic individual. And no, that doesn't make me a liberal or a progressive or conservative or independent, that I'm just observing something that is objectively crazy and calling crazy crazy. And look, this stuff beyond the craziness has real life implications on you. I mean, you have Donald Trump's top surrogate, MAGA Mike Johnson, in no uncertain terms, saying that he's going to put a blowtorch to healthcare and he's going to rip away the healthcare from tens of millions of Americans, when he's speaking with frat boys who probably are on their parents' healthcare plans, so that it'll get ripped away from them and don't realize where that healthcare is coming from, how they got that provision. By the way, that was Tammy Baldwin, a Democratic senator, who put that provision in the Affordable Care Act. That's why these frat kids are getting their parents' health care. Otherwise, good luck. That's what it used to be before. Good freaking luck. So the fact that you have MAGA Mike up there, with the glasses and the whole shtick, being like, oh, we're going to have to take a blowtorch to it. That's people's lives. You're talking about killing people. Like, they're talking about murdering you and killing you, because that's what it means if they rip away your health care, right? Here, play the clip.
There's a lot of talk. I mean, healthcare reform is going to be a big part of the agenda. When I say we're going to have a very aggressive first 100 days agenda, we got a lot of things still on the table. But healthcare, it's the secret. It's the secret. Healthcare reform is not a secret. There's some really important ideas on the table. And we have a docs caucus, the physicians who serve in the House, and they've got a menu of options about this thick. And I think this is part of it, because if you take government bureaucrats out of the healthcare equation and you have doctor-patient relationship, it's better for everybody, more efficient, more effective. That's the free market. Trump's going to be for the free market. You heard a little sample of that last night. We want to take a blowtorch to the regulatory state, okay? Yeah. I mean, these agencies have been weaponized against the people, and it's crushing the free market. It's like a boot on the neck of job creators and entrepreneurs and risk takers. And so healthcare is one of the sectors, but we need this across the board. And Trump's going to go big. I mean, he's only going to have one more term, right? Can't run for re-election. Right. And so he's going to be thinking about legacy, and we're going to fix all these things. And,
no Obamacare.
No Obamacare. Yeah, the ACA is so deeply ingrained. We need massive reform to make this work, and we got a lot of ideas on how to do that.
I mean, you heard what he just said there. Was there any ambiguity there at all? No more Obamacare, he says. And he says the Affordable Care Act is so deeply embedded in the type of regulatory framework that they want to get rid of. I mean, he's saying that, and then when they're asked about it later, because people are like, wait a minute, you want to get rid of healthcare? What do they say? Oh, I never said that. That's actually not what you're just taking a snippet of what I'm saying. When you say no more Obamacare, that means to people that they could die. So you're playing around with that? Or like when Donald Trump goes, I'm just going to be a dictator on day one. I just said day one. It's a joke, right? The history of governments and dictatorship in a presidential election is not a funny joke, number one. So it's not something that you joke around. Dictatorship. And then he says it's serious. There's no joke tone in what he's saying. And he's running for the highest office. As former President Barack Obama said, every word that you say when you're running should be dissected and it matters. That's how it is for Democrats.
Ben, here's the crazy thing. So then you have, like, Trump, to your point, posting this morning. He goes, Lion Kamala is giving a news conference now saying that I want to end the Affordable Care Act. I never mentioned that, never even thought about such a thing. Like, how could you say that with a straight face? That was kind of your whole thing that you tried to do throughout your entire presidency. You even used the words, quote, I want to terminate healthcare at one point during your presidency. At multiple press conferences, you said you want to get rid of healthcare. On your website right now, as we speak, it says you want to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. You have MAGA Mike saying, I want to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. And now you're for Obamacare? That's your lie? That you like Obamacare? I mean, is anybody buying this crap from this guy at this point? It's just patently absurd on its face. Like, these are the things that he's supposedly fought for. And I thought this was a guy who just speaks speaks his mind and tells it straight. But what he does is he gives sound bites on every side of the issue so that he could be like, oh, look, no, I said I was for that. No, look, I said I was for, oh, you thought I wanted to punish women for abortions? No, let me point you to this other statement where I said I didn't. Ignore the statements where I said that women should be locked up. Ignore those for now. Ignore the fact that that's actually happening in states across the country. Ignore that because this other time I said this other thing. It's how he kind of plays the media also, because then they do these BS fact checks and they go, well, actually, Donald Trump actually tweeted today that he doesn't want to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. And I'm like, okay, we're doing this. This is what we're doing right now. Media, really? Really? Are you going to be serious people, or is this what you're going to do?
Corporate media has been abysmal in this entire process leading up to the 2020 election, the 2022 midterms, and now 2024. Once again, they are failures, failing every time they have an opportunity to fail. They fail. That's why the growth of this network and this entire community has been so friggin' awesome on our way to 3 million subscribers. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Brett, what's up?
Can I give you an example? Like, there was New York Times wrote an incredible story like last week, right? They broke the John Kelly story about John Kelly saying that Donald Trump adored Hitler and wanted Hitler's general. Like, the New York Times broke that story. It ended up somewhere in the middle of their newspaper, not a front page story. That ended up like on A12 or A14 or something like that. But Joe Biden's comments, the garbage comments, which, by the way, if it's actually quoted correctly, he was clearly just speaking about the comedian who made the garbage comments. Like,
totally,
they're misappropriating an apostrophe. That made the front page of the New York Times, and that's one of the things that's so maddening to me, because I'm like, listen, you have reporters who are doing really good work, right? Really good work. Right? Why are you burying it in the middle of the paper, and then the crappy stuff you're putting on the front page? It just reminds me of the stuff they did with Hillary back in 2016. And it's very clear that none of these organizations have learned their lesson one bit.
We're going to do one more Zoom meeting on Monday before the election. So that's the last time before the election where we will all be meeting. Patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Make sure you're signed up, because it's so important that I just want to hang out with all of you, honestly, before the election. I want to spread good vibes. We're going to answer all of your questions. We'll tell you what we think. But I just also would love to, before we've been on this journey together, so I want to see it. Patreon.com/MeidasTouch. We'll be right back after our first quick break of the show.
Let's face it, after a night with drinks, I don't bounce back the next day like I used to. Hey, I got to be honest with myself, right? It feels like I have to choose between having a great night or a great next day. That is until I found pre-alcohol. ZBiotics pre-alcohol probiotic drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make ZBiotics your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. Every time I have pre-alcohol before drinks, I notice a difference the next day. For example, after a fun night out with friends at like a local bar or wherever we go, I could still get up the next morning and hit the gym. And I'll admit, I was skeptical at first, but I tried it at a dinner party with some friends. The next morning, I felt great, ready to tackle the day, ready to do more videos here at the MeidasTouch Network. I kept hearing about pre-alcohol and wondered what it was actually like. Now that I've tried it, I get the hype. Plus, with their GMO technology, ZBiotics is continuing to create probiotics that tackle the challenges of modern living. Go to zbiotics.com/Meidas to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use code Meidas at checkout. ZBiotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee, so if you are unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/Meidas and use that code Meidas. It's MEIDAS at checkout for 15% off.
Let's talk about time savers for a second. Time is everything. And the last thing I want to worry about while I'm making videos for MeidasTouch is having to wait in line at the post office just to overpay for postage. So if you're running a business or just want to ship and mail like you're in the 21st century, can I introduce you to stamps.com? It's the time saver you didn't know you needed, but you need. Stamps.com isn't just for small business mailings. Whether you're a small startup or a multi-location organization, Stamps.com handles all your mailings and shipping needs wherever and whenever you need it. If you sell products online, it seamlessly connects with every major marketplace and shopping cart. Think of Stamps.com as your 24/7 post office. You can take care of mailing and shipping right from your computer or phone anytime, day or night. No lines, no traffic, no waiting. All you need is a computer and a printer, and get this, they even send you a free scale. Now, I know the cost of postage increased in July, but here's the kicker. Stamps.com offers some crazy discounts. We're talking up to 89% off USPS and UPS rates. That's some serious savings. So here's the deal. Sign up at Stamps.com and enter code MEIDAS, MEIDAS, for a special offer that includes a 4-week trial, plus free postage and a free digital scale. No long-term commitments or contracts. That's stamps.com. Use the code Meidas and get that deal right now.
Let's go. Links in the description of both YouTube and the audio. I made a little bit mistake heading into I said on our way to 3 million subscribers. Brothers, we're on our way to 4 million YouTube subscribers.
Right.
Please hit the subscribe button to YouTube if you haven't already, and download the audio podcast wherever you get your audio pods. The MeidasTouch Podcast. It really helps. Rate us 5 stars. Amazing stuff.
Jordy, if you didn't have the jetpack on, you could probably be mistaken as one of the Trumpers being dressed as garbage.
This is like a real, like, should I stand up? This is like,
wow, looking good. Jordy. Okay, Jordy is now flying. Jordy is now flying across his.
Guys, this is we're keeping the vibes light on this episode. That's what we're doing. Where everyone and I feel the tense. I feel people being tense. Let's
good vibes. Good vibes.
Yeah.
So one of the things we're also learning is Donald Trump going to appoint RFK Jr. to multiple cabinet positions, particularly cabinet positions over agriculture, as well as HHS over health services. And of course, having an anti-vaxxer there is probably not the best person to put in that position. But he intends to gut all of those cabinet positions and departments. Elon Musk, Donald Trump will appoint as an economy czar. And Elon Musk says that he is going to cut 2 to 3, I think it was like $2 to $3 trillion from the budget, meaning all of your services will be eliminated, the things that government's supposed to do for we the people, and say goodbye. So say goodbye to Social Security. That's one of the first things that will go. Say goodbye not only to healthcare, say goodbye to Medicare, say goodbye to all of that. It will be gone. The same way Elon Musk has gutted X or Twitter, that's what's going to happen to your services. I mean, there's numerous independent analysts who have said Social Security under the Trump-Musk plan has about 5 to 6 years left. So depending on where you are in receiving Social Security benefits or where you expect to be, that won't exist anymore. So whereas under Vice President Kamala Harris's plan, your freedoms will be protected, extended, and we will build upon the economic gains that have existed, you're not going to have health care under Donald Trump. He has concepts of it, but you're not going to have it, and you're going to lose your Social Security. And then what? Oh, we didn't believe him when he said it. Elon Musk is on audio talking about the hardships that are going to be inflicted on you. Why would you vote for someone who's inflicting hardships, artificial hardships on you? Why? Here, play this clip.
We have to reduce spending to live within our means. Yeah, that necessarily involves some temporary hardship, but it will ensure long-term prosperity.
I just want to be clear about the state of the economy right now. I mean, there's been a lot of economic data that's been released. Here This was the wall. This is the Financial Times. U.S. consumers. We'll pull up the Financial Times. U.S. consumers keep economy on course as election looms. We just learned GDP growth was up about 2.8 to 3%. Here's how the Wall Street Journal phrased it on October 31st. The next president inherits a remarkable economy. The high quality of recent economic growth should put a wind at the back of the White House's next occupant. And this is what's in the article. Pull up that article one more time. With another solid performance in the third quarter, the U.S. has grown 2.7% over the past year. It is outrunning every other major developed economy, not to mention its own historical growth rate. And also by historical growth rate, they mean that even if you take away the pandemic, if you pretend that didn't occur and Donald Trump didn't mishandle it, which when we do analysis, do we just remove that? Give Donald Trump a mulligan. Even if you remove it, we've peaked past all financial expectations before the pandemic. So if the
you know what I just realized? They do that with all Republican administrations where they try to give a mulligan on anything bad that happens. Do you remember the line that the media would parrot and that George W. Bush would say when he was running? And he would be like, listen, there were no terrorist attacks under my administration. If you take out 9/11, take a 9/11. I'm like, hey, take out 9/11. It's kind of a big deal, man. You can't just take it out. And Donald Trump and his surrogates, and oftentimes the media wants to take out that entire year where Donald Trump completely screwed over the economy, killed hundreds of thousands or millions of people with his mishandling of COVID, with his just reckless disregard for human life, for testing. And this economy thing, honestly, Ben, Jordy, like really stresses me out because here, like the fact is, the United States economy is quite literally the number one in the entire world. The number one in the entire world after COVID. So while Republicans want to talk about the economy and act like there's some economic catastrophe out there, act like we're in a depression, we're actually in an incredibly prosperous time in the United States, and we are faring far better than literally every other developed nation in the entire world. Number one should mean something here. And it's not to say that things are perfect. It's not to say that supply chains didn't get messed up after COVID and that there's still a bit of a shock period and things are still in the process of returning to normal. However, we are quite literally the number one economy in the world, with also, in addition to full employment, we also have a record stock market. It's like by every measure, every single measure, the U.S. economy is the best in the entire world. And I'm just sick of this like phony act that there's like all these issues with the economy and that we're in some sort of issue or something. And maybe it should be, I go to like Trader Joe's, eggs are $1.99. Eggs are $1.99 by me. So it's like, what is it? What are we complaining about here? We have prices coming down. We have inflation at historically low rates now. And the inflation that did happen was quite literally caused by Donald Trump. So are we going to give the drunk driver who crashed the car back the keys? Is that what we're going to do? And here's a crazy stat as well. If Kamala Harris wins, when Kamala Harris wins, she will be the first Democratic president to come into office, maybe ever, or at least in modern American history, that is actually entering office with a good economy. Because we've seen the cycle, it's the same cycle every single time, where Republican comes in, crashes the economy, Democrat comes in, has to deal with that crashed economy after 4 years, 8 years, the economy gets back on track, is the envy of the world, and people say, I'm not sure this is all that good. And then they put in another Republican, and then it crashes once again. And then it's the same process over and over and over. Don't be bamboozled, folks. Don't be bamboozled.
It's why you need adults in the room. And it's why when you see experts like the former, CEO speaking out saying, hey, the economy will be better under President Kamala Harris versus another presidency of Donald Trump, it's very clear who I want to listen to. I want to listen to business experts. Remember when Trump had the meeting with the CEOs and he was going to use that as his big, look, all these CEOs, they're endorsing me. They left out of that meeting saying that he doesn't have a plan for the economy. That they
He's
were
quite literally telling you, Jordy, that he wants to raise prices by 2,000%.
The guy doesn't even know what a tariff is. I mean, seriously, people, come on here. And the choice couldn't be more clear.
Well, then look, I mean, for me too, there's also some basic things that I know don't get a lot of attention, but I think you have to talk about. Like Donald Trump believes that climate change is a hoax. The same way Donald Trump said COVID is a hoax. Donald Trump gave a speech and called electric vehicle in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Before he gave a speech and said that electric vehicles, he goes, EV is like the Gestapo. I don't even know what that even means. Donald Trump goes around and says, you know, if global warming was real, he says it would be a great thing because you would get more beachfront property, which doesn't even make any sense if you would lose beachfront property, but that's besides the point. It's not a good thing. We see its catastrophic effects. When Donald Trump is trying to talk about these devastating hurricanes like Hurricane Helene, where he goes to a devastation zone and accepts these little, like he got a French fry award in a devastation zone and was holding it up like he actually won something for some stupid McDonald's publicity stunt. The way he describes hurricanes is as big water storms. He goes, they call them water storms. Big water storms. No one's ever seen anything like them. Nobody could ever expect this. Yes, they can. They can expect it. Science can expect these things. Here's the thing also, you know, I did this interview with someone by the name of Chad Livengood, who's the politics editor of Detroit News. I mean, there are EV plants in Michigan, you know, in places like Detroit, where these were factories that were shut down and people were losing jobs when Trump was in office. And now with America leading the way in developing new technologies and then new technologies around the new technologies. So you talk about electric vehicles, but then you also have to talk about the semiconductors that are sometimes used in these electric vehicles. And then you learn, well, wait a minute, Kamala Harris and President Biden did the CHIPS Act, which in addition to the Inflation Reduction Act and Infrastructure Act, which invested in these types of manufacturing plants. Well, now there's also an investment in the semiconductor industry. So it's all kind of comes together. And what that means is that's where these jobs are coming from. And New York Times did this report, clean energy is booming in the US, and the election can change that. And one of the things it talks about that's booming is US factory construction are at its highest levels, that there's a manufacturing boom right now. So this is good for our economy. It's getting people to work more. It's creating more jobs, and it's good for the world. And that hat trick of good is in bizarro world is viewed as bad for Donald Trump. So then Trump and them go, drill, baby, drill, drill, baby, drill. Well, okay, well, if that's your standard also, there's more drilling right now than when Donald Trump was in office. America, for the first time, is energy independent, which we were not under Donald Trump. America is the world's largest oil producer, which we were not under Donald Trump. Never before has more oil been extracted than currently right now. But we can also be smart about it and talk like adults. And it's like Vice President Kamala Harris and Governor Walz, here's the plan. Here's the details. Here's what we did. Here's how we're going to expand upon it. Let's go through it. Donald Trump goes, drill, baby, drill. Frack, 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 like a duck. Frack, 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 like a duck. And I'm just thinking to myself, what the hell even is that? But that's what he does. I mean, that's what he does. When he talks about fracking, he doesn't have a policy. He goes, frack, 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 like a duck, like a duck. Frack, frack, frack. And I'm watching this and I'm like, this stuff isn't funny. And then the stuff that he was saying yesterday, whether women like it or not, Vice President Kamala Harris put out an ad on this. He's like, I tell women, I'm going to protect you. And he goes, so my campaign says, maybe you shouldn't say that about women with everything that you've done. And I go, no. I say I'm going to protect them even if they don't want me, whether they like it or not. I'm going to do what I want to do with them. That's what he's saying. That's what he's messaging. Here, play this clip.
They said, sir, I just think it's inappropriate for you to say. I said, well,
I'm going to do it whether the women like it or not. I'm going to do it whether the women like it or not. 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 I'm going to do it whether the women like it or not.
And then for those listening on audio, it's showing everything that's happened to women since Roe v. Wade has been overturned, talking about all of Donald Trump's despicable conduct towards women. You know, but the crazy thing is, Brett and Jordy too, and the Midas Mighty in this kind of upside down world, is that something like this that I'm about to show you will not even make, by far, 0% chance, other than MeidasTouch, will make any news network. It's just, this is Trump and this is who his people are. That Donald Trump's top surrogate, Amber Rose, who gave a speech at the Republican National Convention, right? She was one of the key people that he highlighted as this is what the Republican Party is. As part of her being a surrogate for Donald Trump, right? While Vice President Kamala Harris has all these surrogates out in swing districts and restaurants, like helping people, Trump's surrogate, Amber Rose, is doing events at strip clubs for Donald Trump. And it is the We F Trump, or We F with Trump tour. And for those listening on
with
audio,
in very small writing.
Yeah. It's the width you could barely even see. So it looks like it says "We fuck Trump" is how it looks. And I'm sorry for cursing, but I think there's a newsworthy nature of me saying it.
How dare
you? And then the photograph is Amber Rose holding her breasts, and then another lady with her legs spread open and her breasts hanging out. And it says that the event, the We Fuck Trump event, is in the Peppermint Hippo Las Vegas strip club. So this is what our politics is in these United States of America.
Very conservative.
Very, very. I guess I must be a radical leftist and lefty who looks at this and goes, you know what? People want to do this in their private life, and I'm not trying to shame this stuff, you know. But I will say, for our politics, for the examples we're trying to set for generations, when we're talking about a political campaign for the presidency, the fact that this won't even be a freaking story anywhere else, I mean, to me, tells you the rot and decay that's been inflicted upon our country. But look, there's a way out. Like, we don't have to be trapped in this craziness. Like, there is a way forward. And and that's Vice President Kamala Harris's message, is like, we can actually get past this. Like, we don't have to wake up every day and get like Trump posts where he's like, oh, there's fraud in Pennsylvania. I caught them cheating. And they're cheaters. And that's why they're ahead. We can actually just grow up and live normal lives. We don't have to be sucked into this. That's what I want to talk about in the next segment of this episode. Is there's a path forward. There's a way out. There's a solution here. And I think what we're seeing is females, but also Republicans, well, Republican females, but females, Republicans, classic Republicans, independents, Democrats, progressives, and people who don't even care about politics are just like, enough. Let's move forward. No more of this Trump chaos. Why would you want that chaos? We'll be right back after our last quick break. As a kid, I loved eating cereal, but as an adult, I don't want all that sugar, and most cereals don't give me the protein I need. Then I found Magic Spoon, a nostalgically delicious cereal that tastes just like my childhood favorites, but without the sugar and with a ton of protein. And if you're already a Magic Spoon fan like I am, I have big news. Magic Spoon has turned their super popular cereal into high protein treats that are light, crispy, and taste just like those classic crunchy cereal bars. Magic Spoon's brand new treats are so delicious and have already become my favorite before and after gym snack. Every serving of Magic Spoon cereal has 13 grams of protein, 0 grams of sugar, and 4 grams of net carbs, so you can feel good about what you are eating. The most popular flavors are fruity and cocoa, and there's so many more. I love the cocoa ones. Magic Spoon's brand new treats are crispy, crunchy, airy, and an easy way to get 11 grams of protein on the go. show. And for the first time ever, Magic Spoon treats are available in grocery stores with delicious flavors like marshmallow and chocolate peanut butter, chocolatey peanut butter. I personally love Magic Spoon's chocolatey peanut butter treats. I have one every morning to start the day off on the right foot, and I know you will love it as well. Get $5 off your next order at magicspoon.com/Meidas or look for Magic Spoon in your nearest grocery store. That's magicspoon.com/Meidas, MEIDAS, for $5 off. Magic Spoon, hold on to the dream. magicspoon.com/Meidas. Okay, what's better than a clean kitchen? Kitchen that doesn't smell with Lomi, that gross trash smell? It's gone. My kitchen smells fresh all of the time. Lomi lets me turn my food scraps into dirt with the push of a button. It's a countertop electric composter that takes my waste and transforms it into nutrient-rich dirt in less than 4 hours. I run it while I sleep, just like my dishwasher. No more smelly trash bins. And it's so quiet, you barely notice it is running. And since I got my Lomi, guess what? I'm taking out way less garbage. So if you're ready to start making a positive environmental impact and make cleanup a breeze, Lomi is exactly what you need. I want you to do this. Head over to lomi.com/Meidas and use the promo code Meidas to get $50 off your Lomi. That's $50 off when you go to lomi.com/Meidas, MEIDAS. Use our promo code Meidas at checkout. Say goodbye food waste and hello to a cleaner, greener kitchen with Lomi. And with the holidays coming up, Lomi makes the perfect gift for someone on your shopping list. So turn your food waste into dirt with the press of a button with Lomi. Use the code Meidas and save $50 at lomi.com/Meidas.
Shout out to our sponsor. Shout out Magic Spoon. Shout out Lomi. Links in the description of both YouTube and audio. Use the links. Use our codes. Let them know we sent you. The Magic Spoon treats have been like my nighttime jam these days. And Lomi's back. Lomi was gone for a little bit. They're back. Show them some love. They're fantastic.
Love 'em all.
Benji, where to next?
I just want to give you all insight into our thinking about how we process early voting, poll numbers, and data. Not to push this poll or that poll, but I think to really give you a framework for the types of things that I'm looking at. So as you know, first and foremost, for me, it's about really getting experts on this program. That's why I bring on Simon Rosenberg, Tom Bonnier from Target Smart, Matthew Dowd, who was the chief strategist to Bush Cheney, got disenchanted with them, but then was like Schwarzenegger's guy, and now big in the pro-democracy movement. But I mean, he's as close to this poll stuff as you can be in interpreting this data, because he knew based on where Bush Cheney were against Kerry that it would be about a 2.5, 3-point win back there. He's just an undisputed expert in this field. And, and I would say, he's just a pro-democracy guy. I think he's part of this new movement where, yeah, he could be a Democrat, but what's Trump's, to me, he's not a Republican. I mean, he's just a MAGA. Then when I go into swing states, I speak to people like Chad Livengood, right? From the Detroit News, who knows that data, who knows the cities and the counties and the demographics. I mean, the types of convos that I'm having with Chad are at a micro level over specific factories being built and how that's being messaged for these 800 to 1,200 voters. That's how micro, I like to get. And so for me, I always want to start with a framework of where have actual voters voted recently? Like, to me, that's an important data point. And so one thing that I look to is the primaries. And I want to see, what was Donald Trump doing with the 538 averages? Was he overperforming? Was he underperforming? And there I see Nikki Haley getting about 15 to 20% of the vote, Donald Trump underperforming in these various primaries. I mean, we're showing you a graphic right here from Pennsylvania. or this one's from Michigan, from Tom Bonnier. The other one's from Pennsylvania. And this one, Trump's 42-point margin in Michigan. It fell 15 points short of the final 538 poll average. So you all heard the terms. Now throw it in the average. What do the averages say? Because if you just put all these polls and you jumble them in an average, that's probably right. No, just think about it in the primaries. And I'm not suggesting that I think this will be 15 points off again. I'm just letting you know that in a vote involving Donald Trump and Nikki Haley recently, the vote was 15 points in variance of with what Donald Trump was projected to have. It overestimated Donald Trump by what actually happened. So then you look again in Pennsylvania, and we saw the same thing. Nikki Haley got nearly 17% of the vote, despite dropping out 6 weeks ago. She got about 155,000 votes, with 98% being reported, as of this post right here. And Democrats had a much higher turnout rate. So that's kind of, when I'm thinking about it, I'm trying to draw at least comparisons to okay, well, what happened recently? Okay. So then I want to find out, how have early voters voted already? What is their current voting behavior? And I'll look in the swing states. So when people are polled, how have you voted? I think it is important to note that there are more Republicans out there who are voting early than before. What we're seeing is a lot of same-day voters from 2020, Republicans, since they're now being encouraged to vote early, they are voting early in states like Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan, where even though Democrats have a lead in terms of raw vote totals, it's not as significant as it was in 2020, where literally no Republican voted early and they all voted same day. So it's a little bit different. But what we know is, and this has been remarkably steady from all of the polls, about 5 or 6 of them all show this, amongst the population who have actually voted, right? Because we know what they've done. They've made the decision, they've gone in, and we've seen whether it was CNN, Marist, Ipsos, New York Times, ABC, whatever it was always in this 15 to 22 point range of Vice President Kamala Harris, leading amongst the population of people who have already voted. So I look here at an SSRS. They do very big samples. So it's not like these 500 persons. They do large samples, what they're known for. So you take a look at Michigan, Harris up 27, Wisconsin, Harris up 22, Pennsylvania, Harris up 17 among people who have already voted. So I go to myself, that's at least a significant data point. Should I draw into it something deeper? I don't want to go there and go, oh, spike the football. That's what the Republicans, would do. Well, we got this. No, not at all. I'm just viewing that as I'm starting to try to work out and build, is it a trend? Because if those numbers were in the opposite direction, it'd be very hard to say we were doing good. We'd have to say, well, let's just hope some miracle happens on election day so we can come from behind, right? Now you take a look right here at the gender gap. At a nationwide level, the gender gap's about 8 in favor of females over males. But what's interesting to me is when you go into most of the swing states, and not all, but most, it's more than that +8, right? Which tells me is something going on in these swing states with women voters. And does this look like a post Roe v. Wade being overturned election that we would cover frequently here, where we would say, whoa, it looks like Democrats were far outperforming the polls once again? Or does this look like 2016 or 2020, where it looked like Donald Trump overperformed where he was put in the polls? So that's one of the things I'm interested in. Well, so I'm looking at the demographic of voters, and we know this from the Target Smart data about this goes in a database and it's compiled. So this isn't conjecture. We know that these numbers are correct. It's not like I've sampled 600 people and then I've created my own kind of framework and said, okay, the voting pattern is going to look, no, this is actually voters, right? So Pennsylvania, females plus 13 over men. Michigan, females plus 12. Wisconsin, females plus 8. Georgia, females plus 12. North Carolina, females plus 12. And then lagging in Arizona, females plus 4. And in Nevada, males plus 1. Now, can I draw any type of like massive points from that? I don't think I can. But what I am starting to kind of let you know is I'm starting to see trends. One of the other thing, and this comes from Politico's analysis of early voting data in Pennsylvania. Now, this is hard data. So one of the things I'm looking at too is in these states, is any party creating new voters, right? Because I want to see, are these just return voters who voted in the 2020 election? Are there any new voters that are being created? Because you would think that if all things remain the same and people turned out for Kamala and the people turned out for Trump in proportionate numbers, that's not enough for Trump, right? So Trump's thesis is that he's going to create new voters and, you know, what's a little bit pejoratively called low propensity voters, people who don't vote as much. That's why Donald Trump is targeting low propensity voters. And I think he kind of does it in like kind of overtly racist ways. Look, you love sneakers. Don't you love sneakers? I'll make sneakers for you, you know, and shit like that. That to me is just pure trash. But that's how Trump thinks about creating voters there. And the question is, are they, you know, and that's why you hear these narratives, you know, and sometimes in these polls, they'll buy into the hype that Trump's created new voters, right? So you'll see what's called like the crosstabs, and they'll have, oh, they think that black voters and black males are going to go towards Trump in a much massive number than we haven't seen before in prior elections. And it's like, well, what are you basing that on? And it's kind of like, well, we just think that's the trend. And so then when you call people and you speak with a black male, you give that an added weight in your poll, and then you extrapolate that at large within the voter sample. And that's kind of how these pollsters arrive at those numbers. But to me, what I'm focused on is, are you creating new voters? So I thought this part of Politico's analysis of the actual data in Pennsylvania found this, that women registered as Democrats made up nearly a third of early votes this year from people who did not vote in the state in 2020. So I want you to think about that. These are new voters being created versus election day voters who are now voting early, which in a state like Pennsylvania, we are seeing with the Republican Party. So are Democrats creating new voters? And finally, one of the things that we've built our thesis on here is this idea, whether you called it a Nikki Haley voter, whether you call it a Meidas voter, whether you call it just a classic Republican / independent, or just an anti-chaos, pro-normalcy, pro-democracy voter, whatever label you want to see, the question that I'm trying to analyze and see is, how much of that Nikki Haley vote that seemed to be a protest vote to Donald Trump is Vice President Kamala Harris going to win over? So when I look at Nikki Haley's margins in all of the primaries, many of them closed primaries, they far exceed the margins that Biden won in 2020 in those same exact states. So for me, the question is if Vice President Kamala Harris can remain around even with Biden. And by the way, when we go in and look at a micro level at some of these congressional districts, in the congressional district ones, she's beating Biden. In these very micro ones where you can cast big samples, and because they're smaller congressional districts, you can get that analysis, usually at a more correct and refined level, where she's outperforming him. She's also outperforming in like college educated white voters. She seems to also be outperforming him in other white voters as well, and of course, in women. So to me, that's an important piece of my analysis. And then my question is, was it 30% of assume 30% of Nikki Haley voters now cross over? And let's just say that it's just 30%. That means you add that 30%. And if she can hold those Biden numbers, can she do that? Now, my purpose of going through that exercise with you is to let you know how I think we should process info. I'm not trying to say this is a spike the football or whatever. I just want to give, I think, to you, and I've spent so much time on this, a framework to analyze data and critically think when all of these junk polls and scammy betting markets, and all these things are pushed in your face. I think you have to take agency over the data and ask yourself, am I getting good data? Am I getting crap data? And what should I be looking for? So I leave you with that thought, because even over Friday, over the weekend, on Monday, you're going to be inundated worse than 2022 with some of the stuff that's going to make you completely lose your mind. And it's intended to do that, to try to suppress your vote. So don't let it, number one, let it motivate you, and then go out there and help be the difference maker. You can change history right now with what you can do. So a few things I want to say before we go. Number one, I want to give a shout out to Adam Mockler. He's our Gen Z reporter, and he's kicking ass. He's on his way to 700,000 subscribers in record time. I want to see him get to 1 million subscribers. So if you're not subscribed to Adam Mockler's YouTube channel, subscribe to that now, please. Number two, subscribe to our Patreon. I want to hang out with you. Me and my brothers want to make sure we all spend time together in that Patreon Zoom meeting where we can answer questions and just talk things out before the election. So sign up at patreon.com/MeidasTouch. That's patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Get that MeidasTouch gear, store.MeidasTouch.com. Tennessee Brando, who's on our network as well, said that he was at a rally and saw so much Meidas merch out there. That's cool. Make sure you get your Meidas merch, please, please, please. And then if you're wondering what we're going to be curating on election night, we have a very detailed election day plan where we're providing live coverage, move over Kornacki and all of that crap. We've got our own data analysts who will be digging through the data in real time, spreadsheets, county by county as the results come in. I think it's unprecedented what we're going to do on Tuesday. So please watch it live. You're not going to want to miss the depth of coverage. You're not going to see it anywhere else. So make sure you tune in then. That's what I got for all of you. I want to thank everybody for watching. Sorry if I was a bit verbose there on the end, but I thought it was important to share that framework.
The data is helpful, and I think the data, looks good, but that doesn't mean you slow down when data looks good. That means now it's all gas, no brakes, and we all just got to work super hard because there's just so much at stake this election. I know it's said every election, but it's very serious this time. Like, the stakes are just so high, and I've never seen a campaign that was just so brazen about what they intend to do, about the harm that they plan to inflict on the American people. Like, they're saying it out loud, which is one of the craziest things. Like, just look at the closing message in the past few days, right? You have Elon Musk saying that everyday Americans are going to have to face necessary hardships under Trump. That's what Donald Trump's own surrogate is saying as a good thing, that everyday Americans are going to have to face hardships under Donald Trump if they want to get America back on track. America's leading the world. America's leading the world. And this billionaire wants to inflict pain on regular Americans so that he could get richer and then he could control the levers of the government. I mean, can we just think about that for a second? So you have them saying that, him saying that they're going to inflict all of this, pain on everybody, strip away all these government programs. You have Mike Johnson openly saying that he plans to take away your health care and take a blowtorch to all these government programs that people rely on a daily basis. You have Trump saying that he's going to prosecute anybody who opposes him, that he's going to raise prices by 2,000%, start trade wars, which are going to crash the economy, round up migrants with, quote, these are his words, with bloody deportations. And then he says it doesn't matter whether they're legal or illegal because the people who he doesn't like who are here legally, he's going to kick them out also because he actually doesn't think that they should be legal. So they're going to be part of this. He's going to throw them into camps. He's going to kick them out of the country. I mean, this is the sick stuff that they're saying out loud. You have Steve Bannon saying that they're going to put Laura Loomer in as press secretary. And these are the things they are saying out loud that they are going to do. You have Vice President Harris saying that she's going to be a president for all Americans, that she's going to seek to unify the country, that she is going to pass policies to help Americans, like help first-time home buyers with money to go towards their buying their home, to lower taxes for the middle class, like tangible things, protect reproductive rights. And these are things that people deal with all the time. And I don't believe this media narrative that has been perpetuated, that women are over it. Women are over Dobbs. They don't care anymore. They've moved on. I don't buy it, not for 1 second. And I think the data, Ben, that you were sharing, I think bears that out because these are issues, healthcare issues, that women and families, by the way, all Americans have to deal with on a very frequent basis. And I don't think a lot of people realize how all of these factors and all of these draconian laws affect just regular procedures that women have to go through frequently throughout their lives. And they are really hurting people. They are threatening doctors. Doctors are afraid to do procedures that they've done forever because of Donald Trump and because of MAGA Mike and because of these Republicans. I don't believe for 1 second that women and that even the men in these women's lives are willing to sell out their families like that, sell out the women in their lives like that. I'm not buying that they're just like, oh yeah, whatever. What are we going to do? I'm going to vote because my eggs were 50 cents more this week. I can't fathom that. But, we're all going to have to fight, right? We're all going to have to do everything we possibly can in these next, 4 days? 4, it's crazy.
We got this. Good vibes. Good vibes.
Yeah, that's it. That's my shtick.
Thank you, everybody. Look, we're in. Here's the thing: we're not going anywhere. We're in this together. It has been an absolute honor to be a part of this community with all of you. No matter what happens, we're not going anywhere. We are here with you. We're going to work our asses off the next few days together, and we need you to do the same. We know you will. So do anything you can at all. Volunteer, get people out to vote. We're in this together. Thank you so much.
Shout out to the Midas Mighty!
The Midas Mighty standing strong against the fascists. We sing our song.
Hey Midas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.